Hello, George. Really appreciate you taking time out of your day to join me here for this interview. How are you?
Hi, Ruckus. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. How are you doing?
I'm good as well. The reason I invited you on, it's a fairly unique reason. Usually I invite people because I saw wins from them in the Wins channel, but in your case, I know you're a captain in the Ecom campus. So I'd like
Yes.
your experience and perspective on the real world from a captain angle. So to start off with, what was your life like before you joined the real world?
So, before the real world, I was working a 9 to 5, like I still am now, obviously hoping in the future to move away from that. Um, but I always had this, I think the way Andrew would say it, is that fire inside of you, to want to do more, not be stuck in a 9 to 5. And I would have these impulses now and then, to try drop shipping or watch a 30-minute video on Amazon FBA, get all excited, but then actually never take the next step. Um, so that's kind of when the real world came in. But in terms of my spare time before the real world, it was kind of wasted really. A lot of gaming and a lot of binging Netflix. When at the same time I'm telling myself, oh, I'm going to be a millionaire, and then kind of contradicting myself, doing these things that are just never going to work, never going to help. Um, and yeah, that's when the real world kind of stepped in.
Mhm. How did you discover the real world?
I discovered the real world through the same as I imagine a lot of people. It started off with scrolling through TikTok, Andrew Tate, more videos of Andrew, and then before Andrew, um, I had a kind of unique view on the world, which is kind of come more mainstream now. But I knew a lot of the society was kind of bullshit in a way. Um, so Andrew, when I saw Andrew, I kind of resonated with that almost straight away. And then, like I said, I already had these impulses, and I tried drop shipping before in 2020. So when I saw the real world, I thought, oh yeah, there you go, that's the perfect opportunity. So yeah, it came through Andrew and TikTok, etc.
Yeah, interesting. When did you join?
I joined originally in July of last year. However, that was another one of me impulse, do it, all motivated for a week, and then kind of, oh no. But then in October is when I came back, and since October I've been, smashing it out. I've kind of got the right mindset now. Went away, got the right mindset. So yeah, I'd say properly from October, but on paper from July.
Yeah. Interesting. I'm wondering, back in July, it would have been Hustlers University. And then
Yes,
from when you've rejoined, I'm presuming that would have been when the real world launched, correct?
yes. So it
Around
was
that time.
roughly a month. Yeah, just roughly, very close to when the real world launched.
Okay. So, what was the mindset there behind actually committing in the real world? Did the difference between what Hustlers University used to be and what the real world is now have any kind of impact there?
No, I think the Hustle University was obviously just as good as the real world. I mean, the real world is definitely an improvement, but they were both amazing. I think it was mainly my mindset. Um, I just, it just wasn't there. I think the reason that I decided to go right, I've got to do it now and knuckle down, is I think it's a Tony Robbins quote, isn't it? It's like when the pain of change is greater than the pain of staying the same, or the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of change. That's that. I got to that point where I was like, right, I've been telling myself for the last 2 years that I'm going to go do this, and I don't. I always revert back to these time wasting, these bad habits. And it kind of got to the point where I was like, right, you've got to sort it out now.
Right. Yep. And since you had experience with ecom previously, how
Yeah.
different is the real world? Sorry, how different is the material in the real world compared to what you learned before?
It is vastly different. It is a lot better. I think the easiest way to explain it in the shortest term is that it has it all in one place. So, for example, before 2020, for example, I was watching a YouTube video from one person who had a certain experience in drop shipping and ecom. And then for the next part of my store, or next part of dropshipping I needed to learn, I watched another YouTuber who had a completely different experience to the other. And so then the advice you were being given was one, contradicting itself sometimes, and two, were just, yeah, just varied a lot. Whereas in the real world and Hustlers University, it's very structured. Every single step, you don't have to look elsewhere. You don't have to touch YouTube or any other platform. It's all there for you from one person in one long course. It's all there. I think that is the main reason. That's what it all boils down to.
Sure. And now, going on to the community aspect, did the community have any kind of effect on you?
Yes, I was quite blown away with the community in regards of how students support one another. So obviously, when I started as a student, for example, I think the best way to explain it, or the best way, a best example would be store reviews. So in e-commerce, we have a store reviews channel where other students can post their stores, and captains used to review it mainly. But as the community progressed, it's now every day I go in there and you've got the community students helping other students, which I think is amazing. When you're all there to make money, you could easily be selfish and sit there and work on your own store and yourself. But when you see others trying to better others in there, which is not even just the store reviews channel, this is across all campuses, it is amazing to see. It's a great community.
Mhm. And what was it that ended up contributing to you becoming a captain?
I bel It was made, to be fair, I knew how great the community was, obviously how I just explained, and I like to help other students too. So it did genuinely just begin as going through answering some questions that I knew that I definitely knew the answer to, so and therefore could help a student by just taking 10 seconds out of my day to respond. And then I started doing store reviews more in the Poseidon Legion because that's what I was assigned to. So it began with store reviews, helping other students, asking Schwabe questions, and also what I noticed was with new students, for example. This is no fault of theirs. Obviously, they're new, so they're going to ask these questions. But you see one new student ask the basic questions, Schwabe goes through and replies, for example, our professor. But then a week later, you get a bunch of new students asking the same basic question. So I think a lot of it was me kind of taking some weight off of Schwabe's shoulders in a certain respect, because so he doesn't have to repeat himself a lot. And I think that was a lot of what the captains do and help is helping Schwabe, take that weight off of his shoulders.
Mhm. Since you have a fairly unique interaction with Shape now,
Yeah.
has that what kind of impact has that had on you?
Oh, it's when I first joined as a captain, which was just shy of a month ago. So, I'm relatively new. Um, it was an unreal feeling, the sense of Schwabe there saying that he's all there for us, he's dedicated to help us become millionaires, etc. When you see that from someone you know's made the money and got the successful businesses, it's almost like you've done it already. That was almost the feeling. But yeah, it's amazing. And now it's kind of I've already got my mindset screwed on, as I explained before, but it does help with that now. Now that I've got the backing of Schwabe and all my other captains who just help with any little question I have, any little problem, I can give it to them and they're there responding within 1 to 2 minutes usually. It's really good.
Mhm. Interesting. So yeah, you're someone who's risen through the ranks, so to speak. What kind of
Yeah.
what kind of advice would you have to people who are just starting out in the real world in order to maybe get to a similar position as you?
My main piece of advice would be when you begin, I'm talking to a student who's just joined, is go through the course and go through it again. I think that's the best way to put it, is because I do see a lot of questions, from students that is explained in the course if you watch the course. So my main piece of advice would be to watch the course and watch it again, as I said, and also help your fellow students. We're all here to make money at the end of the day, and it doesn't hurt you, or it's not harmful to go out of your way and help some students who may be stuck or have a problem of some kind.
Mhm. Yeah, I have heard it before, and it's something I've seen. You will get out of it as much as you put in. So that also
Yes.
includes helping other people. You'll build relationships with them, and then who knows where that will lead in future. We've had some people in the copywriting campus moving in together like several months down the
Oh,
line in
really?
a mansion in Thailand. That was pretty insane. Yeah.
Well, that is amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's things like that students look at and think, wow, that could be me.
Mhm.
And I think that's a great thing about the reward, is especially like the wins, not just wins in terms of revenue, etc. You see all this sorts of stuff. and also victories in the main campus of, fitness and physique. I mean, it covers everything. And I think students look at this and think, wow, you know what I mean? If I just put that effort in, that could be me.
Mhm. Right. Okay. And now going on to the Wins channel, did that have any kind of impact on you?
Yes, the Wins channel when I first joined was one of the ones where I looked at it because I think a lot of people joined the real world at the start or Hustlers University and may have been a bit skeptical, you know, because you get all the courses online and YouTube and stuff that kind of flood the market with like this kind of market like negative perception. So when I saw the Wins channel and you saw students that are in there for like maybe only a month, some of them only 2 weeks, that were making these unreal wins, it was like another boost of motivation and a thing of kind of like realization of like, wow, this is actually really good and this could really help.
Hmm. What was the biggest challenge you faced when you first started out in the ecom campus?
I think if I go from July, for example, when I first started, it's easy to say would be the motivation. Struggling to just be like, oh, come on, do it, rather than just thinking and jumping on FIFA, for example, or some other video game. But if we're moving away from that, and in terms of what I actually struggled with, a lot of it would be copywriting. So copywriting is obviously a huge thing for e-commerce as well. They kind of go hand in hand. Since I've become a captain, we've had some great stuff from Schwabe and some great content. He's given us some great resources, and now I'm like much more confident in my copywriting abilities. But when I first started, I was very worried about that. Like, I was not very good at it at all in my eyes.
Yeah, fair. And on the other end, what have been the three biggest lessons you've learned from your time in the real world?
Well, that's a good question. I would say the what number one is kind of what you said. You kind of get what you put in terms of effort, and that's 100% true. Because you can scroll through wins all day long, and if you're trying to look for a student that has not put any effort in and tries to cut corners, you're not going to find any wins. It's simple as that. You know what I mean? So that would be number one. Number two would be self-discipline. So, I mean, motivation is part of that, but it's not all of it. So, I mean, the real world, not only in terms of businesses and the financial aspect, but in other areas of my life, it's really helped improve my self discipline. And also, my third would be self esteem. I mean, that even with self discipline and motivation, you come to better yourself, and that overall improves your self esteem. You know what I mean? Like, I am the man. That's what you got to tell yourself, sometimes kind of give yourself that push. But yeah, that is kind of the three main things that I've gained from the real world since I've joined.
Right, that's good to hear. And now that you're on this trajectory, where do you see your life heading in 6 months to 1 year?
Well, I'm hoping by the end of this year, I will be earning enough per month to be able to quit my 9 to 5 and then fully dedicate all my time to e-commerce. Because if that was the case, that would be an extra 8 hours, 9 hours in a day that I can dedicate to that rather than the 5 hours I get in the evening before I go to bed. So I hope to see myself earning at least, I think I said originally to Schwabe, one of my goals was 3,000 a month in profit by some point this year. It could be in 2 months, it could be right at the end of the year, but at some point this year. And then hopefully, quit my job and do this full time.
Mm-hmm. Great. Uh, Now, I'm wondering on a personal level, what kind of an impact has Tate had on you?
He's had a huge impact. I mean, a lot of people online like to joke about it, but for the people that know how much he's helped them, it's quite staggering. It's hard to explain. Like, you can't really put it into words how he's helped you, but in terms of self improvement, he was kind of the number one. So self improvement, not just the real world, but Tate, it was unreal. So a while ago, before I started watching Tate, I was, like I said, gaming, smoking weed, for example. My life was kind of very dull. Eating junk food, smoking weed, gaming. Your classic, exactly what Tate would explain as someone with no life, pretty much. And now I'm completely away from that. I feel like kind of like a new person over the course of like the last 1.5 years. thanks to Tate.
Amazing. And something I should have asked earlier, with all the value that's in the real world, why do you think they only charge $50?
That, I wouldn't be able to answer simply because I'm bewildered by it as well. I mean, for $50 a month to start with, like I said, if you're a new student in your first day or you're thinking about buying it, you think, oh, that's a lot of money. But once you're in the real world, I would say to students now, if I was speaking to them directly, is just give it a week. Give it a week and put all your effort in that 1 week, and then you will understand that this $50 a month is nothing compared to the knowledge you're gaining from the real world.
Mm-hmm. Great. And now, before we end off, what advice would you have to people who are considering joining the real world?
The advice I would give is if you're going to join, make sure you're going to put the effort in. As this is not a get rich quick scheme. However, it provides you with all the tools you need, go on to make $10,000 a month, 100%. You just got to put the effort in. That is the main thing I would say, as I've repeated multiple times through this interview, is it's the effort. You've got to put the effort in. And if you do that, you will see results.
Great. So, George, thank you for coming on for the interview. Some great answers by you. And I hope the listener has gained some new insights. I look forward to doing a follow-up in future to see how you're doing.
Yeah, brilliant. I look forward to it. Thank you very much for having me.
All the best here and goodbye.
Thank you.